But this is a religious thing. It's purely religious conflict based on certain beliefs from your books and scriptures that it is God's chosen people. And none of you journalists want to fall into the trap of talking about the main topic here. That what's causing the Jews to believe that they're God's chosen people, arrogantly come into the midst of Middle East, bring up a flag with two blue lines, which means from the Euphrates to the Nile, that they're going to take all these land. And what about the people, the indigenous people? You think it's okay? Oh, yes, white master, come in, take up the land and things like that. You think it's fine? No, obviously it's going to be war. We're going to resist. Our blood and soul means nothing when it comes down to protecting our families, our land, and to protect our religion, and most importantly, the holy site. The Old Testament, which is accepted by both the Jewish community and the Christian. So I was reading, and then I read this thing that it says, after Ehud came Shamgar. So this guy called Shamgar, son of Anat, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. So this guy called Shamgar, who's the son of Anat, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. So, for those of you who don't know what's an ox goad, it is a cattle prodder. They used to prod cattle with it. Something that looks like this. And I brought it here for you. This thing kills 600 people. 600, because they're Palestinians, right? They're Palestinians, so nachas, let them die, right? Piers Morgan, do you condemn the genocide and all the cluster bombs and white phosphorus and the killings of innocent men, women, and children in Palestine? Do you condemn it? We're all waiting for your answer. All your audience is still waiting for the answer that Muhammad Hijab asked you. Do you condemn the atrocities and the bloodshed of innocent Palestinians? Or you're just neutral? So if you're just neutral, then why do you keep asking and playing the games of, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Is Hamas terrorist? What do you think of Hamas? And making it seem like the story starts from there. This is a message for you, if you will, and for all your viewers as well, because a lot of people are confused. And why is it? What is this? Do you condemn Hamas journalistic games that you and others as well play along with it? Because it seems like it's not proportionate of the death of thousands of innocent children, little kids with women, as well as proportionate to the killings of soldiers, by the way, by Hamas. And it's not proportionate whatsoever. So why does the conversation start with the condemnation of Hamas and the condemnation of certain actions that there's no proof that they did, like the raping of women and beheading little children? Where is these stories coming from? And why is it a must that everyone has to believe what a lie that has been put forth up by God knows who? And you've been asking the ambassador of Palestine in your show to provide evidences for the certain things he's saying. But on the other hand, you're not providing with any evidences. Maybe secondary source, as Muhammad Hijab said, but your audience don't understand. And I will expose it here very simply, because this journalistic stupid game that has been played by everyone. Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? As if the story starts from Hamas's attack. What about the 3 weeks before Hamas's attack? Approximately 200 people died, innocent civilians in Gaza, captivating people, taking captives from Gaza, approximately 4,000 people, putting them in prison and all these kind of things. People are not understanding. And as the ambassador of Palestine told you, that if he answers this question, that means he's accepting the notion that Israeli souls, or perhaps white, European, Westerners' soul is worth more than the Palestinians, or that they are the children of God and the Palestinians are Palestinians, right? Or goyim, or Gentiles, or all these derogatory terms that is being passed around with the Judeo-Christian values. A lot of the audience don't understand why it's not proportionate of the death by the Palestinians and the death by the Israelis. So this is the game that has been played, but you will easily be exposed within days. Everyone will understand this stupid game that you deliberately or intentionally or unintentionally you're trying to play with condemning Hamas, condemning Hamas, condemning Hamas, and letting people think that the story starts with the Hamas's attack. This is an 80-year story of barbarically slaughtering, killing innocent people for no reason. Women, torturing women, attacking one of the most holiest sites in Islam, Masjid al-Aqsa, going inside and burning the books and throwing bombs inside like it's... So where is this all coming from? We would like to understand. As viewers, we would like to understand. Is it because we're less of human beings? Obviously, you're going to be like, no, I'm neutral. But this is what you say when the same question being reversed to you. But you keep insisting on asking every single Muslim or pro-Palestinian on your show that, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? So just for the sake of, let's not play games here and there. I'm just a regular guy on YouTube, barely have any subscribers compared to yours. But for the viewers who are watching this, this is the answer. Because the story does not start with Hamas. And if you fall into the trap with start speaking about Hamas, then you're going to forget about the main cause of this issue, which is the occupation, which is the 80 years of suffering with the Palestinians and the resistance. And the main question is, where is this coming from? Why do you believe that we are less of human beings? Why do you believe that the souls of the Israelis are worth more? What is the proportion here? Just like the comedian, I think his name is Bassem Youssef, where he showed you the list, the death of Palestinians, and barely you can see if any Israeli, but if an Israeli gets attacked, everyone hop on the show. Here's the game that is being played. If you go back to the root causes of what's happening, you always ask your guest towards the end, is there a solution for peace? Or what is the solution for peace? A two-state solution or one-state solution? Well, before Israel came to that land, way before the Holocaust, the Jews and the Christians were living in the midst of the Muslims in Palestine. They were very peaceful. My own grandfather was living in Palestine. He's Palestinian. And they used to play in a coffee shop, and his Jewish and Christian people, they used to go visit, and this life was normal. So the solution is a one-state solution. Give it back to its own indigenous people. This is what the West is not understanding, and they're not getting. We refuse to be in your museums. We refuse to accept that you are God's chosen people, and we are less of human beings, and our soul does not mean anything. But you know what? This is what most of the Western journalists are too scared to talk about this topic. Let's go to the real causes of the problem. Let's go to what is behind all this. Who said you're God's chosen people? Where is this coming from? And shockingly, it is in the Torah. It is in the scriptures of the Jews that they're God's chosen people. Then the Jews are telling the Christians that this is God's promised land to us. And this is already in the Bible, that God promised this land to Abraham and the seed of Abraham, even though Abraham did not own a square foot of that land. And they forgot that Abraham's seed is also Ishmael. Different topic, we'll not get into this. But this is a religious thing. It's purely religious conflict based on certain beliefs from your books and scriptures that it is God's chosen people. And none of you journalists want to fall into the trap of talking about the main topic here. That what's causing the Jews to believe that they're God's chosen people, arrogantly come into the midst of Middle East, bring up a flag with two blue lines, which means from the Euphrates to the Nile, that they're going to take all these land. And what about the people, the indigenous people? You think it's okay? Oh, yes, white master, come in, take up the land and things like that. You think it's fine? No, obviously it's going to be war. We're going to resist. Our blood and soul means nothing when it comes down to protecting our families, our land, and to protect our religion, and most importantly, the holy site. You want to go ahead and paintbrush any resistant as barbaric terrorists because you're Jewish masters. I'm sorry, and the Zionists and the IDF and all that want to frame it that way, so you just go along with the flow. So, by the way, when I was doing when I was studying comparative religion, I was reading the Bible, and I read something in the Bible, very interesting. It says, and this is in your Bible, by the way. And I will explain why I'm bringing religion into this, because this is a religious conflict that the Jews are claiming it's God's chosen land. It is the only religious, quote-unquote, state. You don't hear us Muslims say, we're going to build a Muslim state because God's promised us. We don't go to in the middle of UK. Imagine we started protesting and we start off with an organization called the Islamic State of the UK. What do you think people? What do you think you in your show you're gonna say? You're gonna say this is a terrorist organization who wants to take over our land. This is the same thing that's happening in the Middle East, a religious state, a Jewish state. And before I get into this, shout out to another victim in this entire chaos that's happening. Some of the Jewish people live around the world who disagree with what the Zionists are doing, and they chant not in our name. Shout out to them, because the media is not covering any of them for God knows what reason. And a lot of people from the Jewish community, they disagree with what's happening in Jerusalem today. Anyways, going back to the Bible, the Old Testament, which is accepted by both the Jewish community and the Christian. So I was reading, and then I read this thing that it says, after Ehud came Shamgar. So this guy called Shamgar, son of Anat, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. So this guy called Shamgar, who's the son of Anat, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. So, for those of you who don't know what's an ox goad, it is a cattle prodder. They used to prod cattle with it. Something that looks like this. And I brought it here for you. It's a little bit taller than this. It's spike. They used to poke their cattle for it. So I brought it for you. Something that looks like Harry Potter's wound. You know, J.K. Rowling, you know, she failed to reproduce this story from the Bible, where one guy called Shamgar killed 600 Palestinians with an ox goad. This ox goad. You know, according to Sheikh Ahmed Deedat, how and where did he kill those 600 Palestinians with an ox goad? 1, 2, 3, how is it possible? As he said, you can't even destroy 600 snowmen with this. 600 snowmen you can't even destroy with this. This thing right here is brainwashing people from your book that this thing kills 600 people. 600, because they're Palestinians, right? They're Palestinians, so nachas, let them die, right? And in not only that, another verse also in the Bible where it says in book of Judges 15, I think it was 15. So this guy called Samson in the Old Testament, by the way, and this is to show people what is the religious motives behind it. I'm not attacking any religion, but as a student of comparative religion, let me tell the people the insights behind or the incentives behind, you know, these things that the Jews are doing, and why is Christians and the majority Western world backing them up, even though it's too obvious, killing people. We can actually provide proofs and evidences of little kids dying for no reason, civilians, taking them all in one biggest open air prison population in the world, and then cluster bombs, white phosphorus, and all these kind of things in that small, tiny area, and then you tell them to leave their house. Leave where? Where can they go? It's too obvious. Everyone can see it. But what's shocking to me is to see a person like Piers Morgan and other people, that seem intelligent and smart to the public, his eyes, journalist who says a lot of good things, but suddenly when it comes down to Israel and its conflict, you see this twist of double standard. You see this twist of I'm too blind, I can't see logic, I can't see people dying. Yes, well, I'm not. You're not condemning and you're not condemning. You're playing this neutral game. But I'm here to expose where all this is coming from, right? So Book of Judges 15. It says later on at one time, where harvest, Samson took a young goat, and it continues. And then it says, then Samson said, with a jawbone, finding a fresh jawbone of a donkey, he grabbed it and struck down 1,000 men. Jawbone of a donkey. So this guy called Samson, another Jewish lad, by the way, found a jawbone of a donkey, and he killed 1,000 men of the Philistines. 1,000 Palestinian men. This Jewish guy, Samson, took a jawbone of a donkey. I wish I brought it here. I can't find the jawbone of a donkey. So he takes a jawbone of a donkey and he strikes 1,000 Palestinians. And then he sings. He says, with a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone, I have killed 1,000 men. This is in your Bible. This is for those people who don't understand and don't know what the Bible is. It's a compilation of two Old and New Testament in one. They call it the Bible by the Christians. The Old Testament is both the Christians and the Jews. So when you have things like this, perhaps maybe you can advise your host, such as the Jewish minister. You can advise her, tell her, why are you wasting your time? Why wasting time throwing all these cluster bombs and white phosphorus? Go find, the ox goad of Shamgar and the jawbone of a donkey. It will do a better job, because when people read this, it's brainwashing people. That you look at Palestinians and you look down upon them, and this is something that those lands should be given to the God's chosen people. So where is the problem is here? And people, they're scared to talk about this subject, that this is the main cause of this entire problem here. We should face this entire problem, where a group of extreme people such as the Zionists, who name it from the Mount of Zion, which is the Masjid al-Aqsa, the mosque or the holy mosque of the Muslims, that they want to rebuild it for the Solomon Temple and take over the lands of Arabia from the Niles to the Euphrates. Why can't you talk about this invite people, talk about the root causes of this problem, religiously or politically, it doesn't matter. No, fast forward, start off with a question: do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you think Hamas is terrorist? Do you think Hamas is terrorist? Pull out the definition. Google definition. You know what? I'll do it right now. Definition of terrorist. Definition of terrorist meaning. Let's read it together. Here's the definition from the Oxford Dictionary. Yes, Oxford Dictionary. It says a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians. Civilians, it doesn't matter, Palestinian or not, in the pursuit of political aims. This is the definition of terrorist. And you're too scared to condemn Israel for their actions, which is so obvious to the world. killing innocent people, civilians, in the small, tiny strip called Gaza. Here's the thing, Piers Morgan. It's good that you're playing the neutral game, but if you're playing the neutral game, you should play a little bit, unbiased and be fair and answer the question if you want to pick a side. If you don't want to pick a side, then stop playing this game of, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn terrorists? So the story with the Muslim has to start that they have to condemn as if they feel guilty, as if they are responsible for ISIS or whatever groups you're naming. But when it comes down to a Jewish person, how dare you ask questions about their motives and their actual motive of taking and occupying these lands? How dare you ask? So my advice to you, Piers, is recollect your thoughts, rectify the way you're inviting people, or perhaps maybe do a debate. I dare Ben Shapiro or any of the people in which you hosted to have a proper intellectual, civilized manner, good, polite debate between those two people. Ben Shapiro or any Muslim, you can choose, time them and have a debate. And you can be the neutral guy. How about that? Sit in the middle and start, let's talk about this. So I make this video to reply a message to you, Piers Morgan, that my advice, I have a tiny advice from a Muslim viewer who's watching this from the other side of the world. Maybe the West would actually see some of the Muslims' insight behind this, and to understand our point of view. So my advice to you, Piers Morgan, is to condemn the killings of innocent children, because you will be on the wrong side of history. It happened before and it's happening again. So it's your choice. Choose your side, or condemn publicly. Say, condemn, just like you're condemning Hamas, condemn the attacks of the Israeli, and you can still be neutral. That's fine. But why don't we talk about the religious motives behind this? Why don't we talk about the actual root causes of all this problem? Let's talk about what Israelis are doing. And there's so many different other things as well. So this is just a message from a regular one. I'm one of the viewers who's watching this. Maybe this message reach you, I don't know. But you either choose to be neutral, or give both, be fair with both. And stop this stupid journalistic games of, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn? It's too old. Everyone knows this stupid game, like we are less of human beings, and day one we should be interrogated and answer your questions and start condemning like idiots. And you're not even providing evidences of what you claim Hamas is doing. Even if we disagree with what Hamas did, does not mean we're gonna sit and thumb suck all these lies from the media, beheading babies. False, not true, it didn't happen. I'm 100% sure it did not happen. Then why would Hamas release videos showing how they're taking care of babies, taking good care of babies, trying to show the world that this is not what we're doing? Terrorists, by the way, when they do an attack, they boast about the inhumane actions they're doing. Just like what happened before with Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations, what they're doing, they take claim, they say, yes, we did it, right? Hamas is not doing this. We might disagree with Hamas and certain things they're doing, but we're not going to thumb suck information. Let's condemn them, yes. And while Israel bombs the hell out of the Palestinians, like they're not humans. I mean, Shamgar killed 600 Palestinians with an ox goad, and Samson killed 1,000 Palestinians, Palestinians? No. Piers Morgan, a quick message from Muslims. I'll just tell you, it's very simple, very easy and simple for you. We Muslims, we're not going to accept you come to our land, take our land, do whatever you want with our holy site. We will resist. I'll say it out loud. I don't care. Me and other Muslims. Maybe Muslims will not feel comfortable to say this in your show, but I can tell you very confidently, we don't accept We don't accept you coming to our house, kicking some of my family out, putting us in certain corner in the house, and if we say or do anything, we are terrorists. We don't accept that. We're not Red Indians, with all due respect, Red Indians or any other nations that the West did to them before, and we refuse to be in your museums. We will resist and we'll have victory. Very simple. This is the Muslims. Go ask the Soviet Unions. Go ask the people who waged war upon Muslims on that premise, on that idea. Colonialism, battles of Algiers, and on and on and on. It might work with the natives, maybe, and it might work with here's another thing a lot of people don't know, the Mexican-American War, where James spoke in 1846. He said, and I quote, "We're God's chosen people." So they start killing Mexicans and taking over their land. California, Texas, half of Texas, Oregon, and not only that, they took this away from the history books in academia in the United States of America. You have to take an anthropology class in college for you to study what happened in those days. Maybe it worked with certain people around the globe. We Muslims, part of our religion, we don't. Muslims have dignity, honor, loyalty, and courage. You respect us, we respect you back. You transgress against us, we're not a religion of turning the other cheek. We resist, and we'll have victory. Thank you very much. I hope you take my advice. Assalamu ala man ittaba al-huda.